Hey, what's happening? Thank you very much as always for stopping by Line Beliefs. This is your boy Maurice. And Line Beliefs, of course, is a channel that's been created to deeply analyze the man-made beliefs that lie deep within our subconscious mind. And speaking of deep, that's where we're going to go. That is where we're going today. We're going deep. I'm going to take you on a deep journey. I'm going to take you on a trip beyond your current paradigm. We're going to dive deep within the hidden sea of the human unknown. Now, as we begin this journey, I need you to do me a favor. There's going to be two things I'm going to ask of you. Number one is this. Try not to validate with what I'm about to share with you. Meaning, do not use what currently lies within your mind to determine whether or not what I speak of is true or not. Okay? That's step one. Step two, when you take this plunge with me, I want you to dive in heart first instead of head first. So one and two are basically one and the same. All right? Bottom line is I'm going to need you to be open with me. Okay? I'm going to need you to open your mind and allow the information that I provide to you. That's the only way it's going to resonate. All right? So that is really the purpose of this channel. Whether you realize it or not, the purpose of what I do, the purpose of this channel has been created really to expand and stretch the awareness of humanity. We're all in pursuit of a higher sense of who we are. And so that's the purpose of this channel, and that is truly the purpose of this video. Hence, that is going to be the topic. The topic is, I'm going to try to expand your awareness, expand your idea, your conditioned idea of what consciousness is. There are many, many people, brilliant minds, who struggle with trying to determine exactly what defines consciousness. So that is my objective today. In this video, I'm going to take a stab at providing you with my theory as it relates to consciousness, as well as it relates to us being living souls. And what's interesting is scientists, although they disagree or they struggle with the idea of the intangible of us being living souls, through their scientific exploration, they have proven that we are just that, living souls. So the idea of a soul that I'm going to share with you is far from religious, it's very scientific. And even scientists still have yet to realize that we are just that, living souls. So, let's get started. Now before we plunge, let's swim towards what many believe to be consciousness. Okay? Now, as you begin to sink into this video, like I said, please keep your mind open, expand your mind so that the information that I share with you will sink in as well. Okay? So, as we're swimming towards what man calls consciousness, or what man believes to be consciousness, it's very limited. Scientists, philosophers, physicians, religious leaders, you name it, they all have a very narrow perspective of what consciousness is. Consciousness for many is just me simply communicating to you right now, being awake and aware. Sentience is what is deemed to be consciousness. But most believe that the human species is the only conscious species on the planet simply because we seem to be, or we are, self-aware. I'm going to put emphasis on that because being self-aware really does not make us the most conscious species on the planet. It makes us the least conscious species on the planet. Because being self-aware is just simply being aware of a label, an identity that's been assigned to your physical form. Yourself is just that, an idea. Your physical form determines who you think you are, along, of course, with your culture, your ethnicity, your race, but these are the ideas that have been assigned to who you look like. Am I right or wrong? So that is number one. That is what I mean, that we are the least conscious species on the planet because we don't live, we have no conscious idea of who we are. We only have a subconscious idea of who we are. And this has all been, of course, given to us. We have been told who we are. So your goal is to discover who you are. Nobody's going to tell you that. That is your journey. That is your mission. That is what you need to do as a living soul. Discover that you are just that, a living soul. Understanding you don't have one. So as far as the conscious mind is concerned, we human beings do not have a conscious mind. And I know you're probably saying, really? How is it that we don't have a conscious mind? See, we believe we have a conscious mind because we are told that we have one. But the mind, that specific mind, has never ever been discovered. Has never ever been proven by scientists. And scientists to this day, they still search and probe this tool for consciousness. And yet, they still come up empty-handed. Because consciousness is not something, number one, that is material. Scientists believe that it's a biological substance, but it is not. Consciousness is the most elusive and mysterious phenomenon known to man, but it's something that we obviously exude, that we possess. We know we are conscious, we know that it exists, but we don't know where it stems from. So scientists, from their perspective, just believes or says, you know what, this seems to be the most logical place, so therefore that's where consciousness stems from. But it doesn't. Consciousness is far more than just being aware. Consciousness is far more than being some sort of biological substance that stems from the human brain. So with that being repeated, what is it? What defines consciousness? Well, it's the electromagnetic energy. Every single breath we take is electromagnetic energy. To be more specific, solar energy. Where does this energy come from? Only one source, El Sol, the sun. The sun of this universe is what provides us with our consciousness. Now here's my theory. Although I stated that consciousness is electromagnetic energy, I simply narrow it down to consciousness is oxygen. In other words, oxygen is nothing more than a scientific or technical term for consciousness. Everything we live by is of course, man has made a name for, has created an idea of what we should call things. And so, because we believe the air we breathe is simply oxygen, we don't see it as anything other than that. But everything is linguistics, everything. So, removing all labels, putting all labels aside, what does the air you breathe do for you? It allows you to be conscious. Oxygen constitutes the entire ozone layer. And what it does, it absorbs the sun's radiation. It absorbs the solar energy from the sun. It absorbs electromagnetic energy. Don't know if you realize this or not, but every single cell, every unit within the human body is an electromagnetic unit. And through every single breath you take, sparks every cell within the human body, which brings your body to life. Each and every one of us, every form of life is nothing more than the consciousness of this universe. Consciousness is energy. It's far more than the limited perception we have of it as just simply being awareness. Mind, body, soul. Have you heard of that trinity before? Well, guess what? The mind is not plural, which means we only have one mind, and that is the powerful subconscious mind. As far as consciousness goes, the brain and the heart, they both emit electromagnetic energy. And I think this is where science gets confused. Because it emits this energy, scientists believe that the brain produces it. But like I just said, it doesn't produce it. See, the brain, even as we sleep, we think that we are without consciousness, or we think we are unconscious. But even as we sleep, we are conscious. Meaning, the brain ensures that the body breathes, inhales the energy that it needs in order to survive, in order to function. The brain relies on conscious energy. It cannot survive without it. You stop breathing, what happens? Does your brain automatically produce the energy of consciousness? Are you still alive? No, you're not. And that's just it. We human beings need to realize that life and consciousness are truly one and the same. I cannot be alive standing here, but completely without consciousness. I can't be conscious, yet dead. Consciousness and life are one and the same. Hence, I am just conscious life. That is what we all are. My whole objective is to get you to see and become more aware that your brain doesn't produce your awareness, that you are just that, the awareness. When you realize that you are the awareness, somehow you realize your independence. You no longer rely on this tool because you realize that the tool doesn't produce what is most valuable, your awareness, your attention. But because you don't realize that as I speak, you think you have a conscious mind, your awareness, your consciousness is trapped in your mind. You think it's normal, but it's far from it. It's very important that we realize exactly what this tool does, what our role is. This tool pays very close attention to what you pay attention to. And honestly, if we are not careful as to what we pay attention to, I think it's very obvious that we all pay a price. So it's very important that you understand you are simply the awareness. You are the soul. The brain does not produce your awareness, but what it does produce is what you have been conditioned to be aware of. That's it. You, as the soul within this body, you are the perceiver. The mind is the conceiver. It gives birth to what you perceive. The body is the receiver. It receives what the mind gives birth to. You are the perceiver, the mind is the conceiver, and the body is the receiver. The mind is a tool, the body is an instrument. You conduct everything. But the problem is, because you as a soul have been lost within the information that lives within your mind, you are pretty much a prisoner to a concept of who you think you are. That is what captures you. That is why you are not free. It's very, very important that we awaken to the energy of who we are. We human beings are not made in the image of this universe. We are made in the energy of it. Being living souls. As I said, scientists have proven that we are living souls without even realizing it. And why do I say that? Because the information that science has discovered that lives within the sun, lives within us. As you begin to understand that source, that central source of enlightenment, that Holy Spirit that shines down upon us each and every day, as you begin to realize and recognize and stop ignoring that for what it is, that truth will set you free. I don't care what you believe in terms of what religious idea you have of this universe, you are not free. I do not have to tell you that. No one is free who believes in these ideas. You may want to pretend you are, but you're not. And that's the problem. We pretend to believe in things as if they're true. But deep down inside, we don't truly believe it. Because if we did, we wouldn't have hope. Hope only survives in the absence of knowing. You don't know. And that's just it. No one knows, will ever know what represents this universe. Not one human being. No one will ever know what represents this universe. So stop pretending as if you do. Stop giving the soul of who you are to an idea that possesses you. What we must understand is that the closest we'll ever get to know this universe is through its sun. That's it. The Son of God is the only proof that there's something out there. That's all we will ever know. That's the closest we human beings will ever get. And what lives within the sun lives within us. The sun. Some of the two most abundant elements within the sun that lives within us, hydrogen and oxygen. What are we primarily made of? Water. H2O. That compound represents all life forms on this planet. Hydrogen and oxygen lives within the sun, lives within us. Every element within that periodic table, from every atomic number, from 1 to I think 118, every single element, mineral, lives within us, also lives within the sun. We are all children of the sun. The sun gave birth to Mother Earth. Father, Son, is what grants us all life. Father, Son is that light that lives within us. That is truly the Trinity, the Christian Trinity. Father, Son. That Holy Spirit in the sky is the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. What we don't realize is that the entire Christian religion in regards to the story stems from that. The Son. The Son is the main character in the religious story that we have given our lives to. We are blinded by the darkness in here. We are blinded from the true light of this world because we continue to hold on to ancient ideas that we really need to let go of. And until we let go of these ancient ideas, we remain in the dark ages. We are far more than what we believe. The sun has been named a star. The sun is also the most massive atom in our universe. They say that we human beings are made of stardust. And they also say that we are made of atoms. That is not philosophy, that is physics. So, hydrogen and oxygen, two of the most abundant atoms within us, human beings, within all life. So you know what that makes us? Atomic structures of universal consciousness. That is it. We are all the universe in the flesh. The consciousness of this universe is manifesting itself through each and every one of us. Our physical body, our brain, our subconscious mind determines how we experience life, though. Determines how the consciousness of this universe is going to experience itself, different forms of itself. The sun is the portal in which the Father of this universe funnels his consciousness through. We human beings are far more than we even know. But until we let go of these ancient theories, we will never ever know who we really are. It's time to wake up. It really is time to wake up. And as Jesus, one of the most enlightened human beings on this planet, he did say, I believe, if not, it has been written, that we are all the light of this world. Christ consciousness is nothing more than higher consciousness. What does that mean? Someone having a higher or a heightened sense of who they are. Enlightenment. Light lives within that word. And let me ask you another question as it relates to the sun. Today has been a beautiful day. The sun has been shining incredibly bright today. I'm in Tampa, Florida. And I tell you what, when the sun is shining bright, doesn't it fill you with delight? We're all connected to this source. We're all one with this energy. No one is separated. No one is excluded. The sun has never, the story in regards to the sun has never changed. It's been consistent since it's given birth to every form of life here. It's always rise from the east and set on the west. It's never said, you know what, I'm going to set on the west and, you know what, rise in the west and set on the east. Just so people can understand what I do or whatever. It has always been there for us. It has never shunned us. What if the sun was to say, you know what? Since they don't recognize me, I may as well stop shining. I may as well just leave them in the dark since they live there anyway. How would that make you feel? Quit shun. Do not shun where you receive enlightenment from. So, I'm about to close out now. But as Jesus said, once again, we human beings, every single form of life on this planet truly is the light of this world. I really hope that this information was alarming because it's really time for us to wake up because we have overslept. We human beings, until we awaken to who we are, understand that we are all a part of one soul. That's the only way we will strive to achieve one common goal. And we human beings, until we realize who we are and escape the darkness in our minds, we human beings will always be stressed out, frustrated. We will always live in fear and confusion. In other words, until we realize that we are the light, That light that shines within us is what defines us, we human beings will never lighten up. It's just amazing. So, like I said, I'm about to close out. But there's one thing that's very, very, very important. That we all realize that we are all connected to that one sun. And in closing, as Jesus said, the Son of God is the Son of Man. Meaning, every single breath I take, the Son of God is the sun that defines me as a human being. As always, peace and one love. And I hope you receive some value. But most importantly, after this deep dive, I hope that you will eventually emerge with a clearer sense of who you are. One love. And until next time, always feel glorious. Signing off, your boy, Maurice.